The last table in the restaurant. Rain hammered against the windows of Bellevue Bistro so hard it sounded like applause. Unfortunately, none of it was for Nora. "You're 23 minutes behind table 7, snapped her manager, leaning over the kitchen counter while steam curled between them. "And the food critic still hasn't arrived." Nora gritted her teeth and plated another sea bass with trembling precision. "I know." "No, you don't," he muttered. "Because if tonight fails, investors pull out." The kitchen moved like controlled violence around her, pans crashing, flames roaring, servers weaving through narrow aisles with soaked sleeves and exhausted eyes. Across the line, Julian Vale didn't even look stressed, which made her hate him more. He stood at the pastry station in a black chef coat rolled to his elbows, calmly torching sugar onto a blood orange tart, while the entire restaurant threatened to collapse. 3 months earlier, Bellevue had hired him after his celebrity restaurant closed in spectacular public humiliation. 3 Michelin stars, 1 televised meltdown. Now he was here, in her kitchen, correcting her sauces with that infuriatingly gentle voice. "You're over-reducing the wine again," he said quietly. Nora slammed the pan down harder than necessary. "I didn't ask." "No," Julian replied. "You never do." The line cooks immediately pretended not to listen. Their rivalry had become restaurant entertainment. 2 brilliant chefs, 1 tiny kitchen, daily warfare. But tonight was worse, because tonight determined whether Bellevue survived, and everybody knew only 1 chef would likely remain afterward. By 9:40 p.m., disaster arrived wearing a silver raincoat. The food critic from Orlin magazine, the woman whose reviews could resurrect restaurants or bury them permanently. The manager nearly sprinted to greet her. Nora watched through the kitchen window while trying not to panic. Then the power flickered, once, twice, and died completely. The restaurant gasped into darkness. A few customers screamed. Glass shattered somewhere near the bar. Outside, thunder rolled across the city skyline. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me," Nora whispered. Emergency lights flickered on in dim amber strips. The dining room dissolved into chaos. Servers rushed between tables. The manager looked seconds from cardiac arrest. And then Julian did something strange. He walked into the center of the restaurant, climbed onto the small piano platform near the windows, and clapped once. Loud. Everybody stopped. "We are not closing," he announced calmly. The room stared at him. Even Nora. Julian loosened his sleeves slightly and smiled at the customers like this had all been intentional. "Tonight," he said, "Bellevue becomes candlelight only." Someone laughed nervously. Then another customer applauded. Within minutes, servers lit every candle they could find. Tiny flames transformed the restaurant completely. Soft gold light reflected across rain-streaked windows. The storm outside suddenly looked romantic instead of catastrophic. And somehow, people stayed. The critic stayed too. Nora stared at Julian in disbelief. "You planned this?" she hissed when he returned to the kitchen. "I planned for us not to panic." Us. The word caught her off guard. Then came the real problem. Without electricity, half the kitchen equipment was useless. No electric ovens, no refrigeration line, no heat lamps. The tasting menu was impossible. The manager looked physically ill. "We're finished," he whispered. Julian turned toward Nora. "No," he said softly. "We simplify." For the next hour, the kitchen became something primal, beautiful, alive. They cooked over open flame, finished sauces by hand, shared stations without arguing for the first time ever. Nora moved beside Julian in synchronized rhythm, their shoulders brushing as rain thundered outside the windows. At one point she nearly slipped on spilled oil. His hand caught her waist instantly. Steady, warm, too familiar, their eyes locked for half a second too long. "You okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded too quickly, but her heartbeat betrayed her. Near midnight, the final dessert left the kitchen. A blood orange tart. Julian's specialty. Except this time, Nora had helped plate it. The critic requested to meet the chefs personally. The manager pushed them both forward like nervous parents at graduation. The critic studied them carefully before speaking. "I came here expecting collapse," she admitted. The restaurant went silent. Instead, she smiled. "I think I witnessed the best service experience the city has seen in years." The room erupted. Actual cheering. One customer even stood to clap. Nora laughed in stunned disbelief while the staff nearly cried from relief. Then she noticed Julian watching her instead of the crowd. Not the review. Not the applause. Her. You know, he said quietly amid the chaos, you're terrifying when you're passionate. She smirked despite herself. And you're annoying when you're right. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Outside, rain continued pouring against the glowing windows. But inside Bellevue, candlelight flickered across smiling faces, steaming plates, and two rival chefs standing a little closer than before. For the first time all night, Nora realized she didn't want the storm to end.